you so much for meeting with me today.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I know. Take a seat. So happy we can, resume in-person interviews. It's been a long time, so yeah, really happy to have you.
Okay, I have my resume here.
Okay.
You want to take a look?
All right. Wow, interesting.
Any questions?
Yeah. So I noticed there's a little bit of a gap here in your resume. Could you tell me a little bit about what you were doing during this time?
Yeah, of course. I'm glad you asked. I played a lot of Fortnite, some Call of Duty, some League of Legends. Binge watching TV shows and Netflix.
Anything?
Ate a bunch of hot Cheetos. The usual.
Professional development? Anything?
Well, yeah.
Yeah?
What I just listed.
So it turns out I actually have a meeting right now that I completely forgot about, so sorry about that. In all seriousness, I was a recent grad and I also went through a period of unemployment, sending out resumes and cover letters every day without hearing back, and I will never forget how discouraging it was, how much it took a toll on my confidence, and how I had to build myself up from there. So this video is to really help share those tips and give you some advice to help you stay sane and also launch your career as a recent graduate in the direction that you actually want it to go in. I'm not gonna lie to you and say that if you follow all these tips, you're gonna magically land the job of your dreams, but I can guarantee that as long as you keep doing the things that make you feel human and that you don't tie your feelings of confidence and self-worth to your employment status, then that is definitely going to make the whole journey a lot easier, because this is not a sprint, it's a marathon, and we are all in it for the long haul, especially given what's going on with the pandemic right now. So I just wanted to get that out of the way, and if there's one thing that I want you to take away from the video, it is that. Now, diving into the main 3 points. The first one is to create a very specific vision for your professional life. And I feel like this is something that unfortunately a lot of career seminars and professional development classes in college don't really talk about. It's kind of like, here's how you do your resume, here's how you do a cover letter, here's how you talk during the interview and network and blah, blah, blah. But the most important part is really making sure that you are going into a field that you're going to succeed in and really enjoy. And I know that the expectation is that you try and learn through internships, and while doing internships and part-time jobs are really great ways to get experience, you also need to do the work of self-reflecting on a broader level to create a mission for what you really want in life, because your career is going to be a huge part of that, and you want to make sure that you're aligned with your values every step of the way. These are the 4 questions that I want you to ask yourself before you even begin applying to any jobs. And the 4 questions are, what do I want to create in my career? Now, I personally believe that creating is what makes us human. We are not robots. We're not just here to execute tasks. We want to leave an impression on this planet, and we want to create something of ourselves. And when I asked myself this question, the answer that kind of came from within me was that I want to create a strong brand that lets me help young people achieve their dreams and succeed in whatever ways that they can. However, yours could be anything from a business, a product, a book, art, a community of like-minded people, literally anything that you can create, you can make real for yourself. And so on a very, very broad, just meta level, ask yourself, what do I want to create? What do I want to leave on this planet behind when I inevitably go to the next place? The second question is, how much money do you need to be comfortable right now? Obviously, this is gonna range tremendously depending on the person. I'm not gonna talk too much about this one, but you need to have a realistic range for yourself. And this could also mean accepting a job that you maybe thought you were better than, because upon reflecting on what you really need to survive and where you really are right now in terms of your living expenses and your student loans, because let's be honest, if you're a college graduate, you probably have loans, then you'll be able to make decisions that are based on your reality and not on your ego of, wanting a certain amount of money when it's really not necessary right now. The third question that you should ask yourself is, what kind of impact do you want to make on the planet and on humanity? Once again, this really goes back to that first question, which is kind of the umbrella that everything else is housed under. But when I ask myself this question, it's really about creating a true north for my values. And when I heard this question, of course, the immediate answer was, for me, I want to help the environment and I want to help people. I want to be of benefit. So as long as I'm doing that in my career, I am on the right track. However, this does lead me into the fourth and most specific question, which is, what are the specific ways in which you can achieve that impact? Because, for example, people are doing amazing work in engineering and building sustainable housing and things like that. And while those efforts are really impressive, I could not personally do that. So what are the ways in which my skill sets, my passions, and those aforementioned values can really align and create something beautiful? Following this process and journaling extensively the answers to these questions really helped take me out of the scarcity mindset and into an abundance mindset, because when I was unemployed as a fresh graduate, I was applying to dozens of administrative assistant positions. That was not because I thought that I really had a passion for administrative work or making spreadsheets or taking calls. It was because I was broke and I needed money. But after doing this reflection and really centering myself, I realized that I want to be working one-on-one with people to improve themselves, and that's what got me into coaching. So before you even send out a job application, make sure you're on the right track. I know that was a lot, but it really is all about laying the foundation. Once you have done that work, number 2 is to make sure that you're not just spending 100% of your time doing the actual work of applying, but instead to work 50% on that and then 50% on improving yourself and creating skills and opportunities for your resume to fill in the gap. You can really do this in 2 main ways. So the first way is, of course, by taking online classes. And I really think that people need to remember there's a strategy behind this. You shouldn't just take any random online class that you find interesting. Instead, you should use the direction that you got by doing the previous reflections and to look at jobs that then align with those. And even if the job postings are for companies that are currently doing a hiring freeze, it doesn't really matter, because you're there to look at the postings and see what types of skills, especially hard skills, that those positions require. So if you find yourself looking at these jobs for these companies that you really admire and you don't have some of the skills that are listed there, you should really take some time to take a course, and then you can put that on your resume as being certified. The second way you can really use your time to improve yourself and your resume during your job search is to, of course, create your own original project. And I know this isn't really talked much about, especially outside of the STEM or IT circles, but it really can be done in any field. So if you were hoping to get an internship this summer or a part-time job and it didn't really work out, you can instead create your own opportunity to show that you have value for whoever decides to hire you further down the road. For instance, if you're doing social media marketing, you can always create a page or do an analysis of a company's social media strategy, and so it shows whoever's looking at it how you think and how you would really bring a lot of value and money to their brand. There's so many examples of this. If you're trying to go into marketing, you can make a marketing plan for a company. If you're doing something related to data, you can find public data and run an analysis on it, start a blog. Again, so many opportunities, and then that also shows that you have initiative. You also don't have to do that alone. I know there are so many groups and networks on LinkedIn that are starting these summer internship positions where they do these sort of group projects but together. So if that's something that interests you, you can also find plenty of communities online. That kind of transitions into my third and final tip, which is to become a boss at online networking. And we're going to be doing a whole video on this, so if you're interested in that, make sure to like and subscribe so you have a notification when that comes out. At this point, most people know that LinkedIn is going to be your main source of professional networking online. And given that so many of us are working from home and doing a lot of our communication online, I think LinkedIn is only really going to grow from here. As a recent graduate, as a young professional, you have a huge opportunity to use LinkedIn to your benefit, because If you're on LinkedIn, you sort of already know this. There's not a lot of content on LinkedIn. People sort of tend to go on there, set up their profile, add everyone they know, and then sit back and wait for recruiters to contact them, which is not really the most proactive strategy. What you can do after you've set up your profile and added everyone, then you should let the world know that you're currently looking for positions. And once your network knows, they can help hook you up or refer you to somebody who can hook you up in that industry. If it's not for a job, then at the very least for a conversation about what your goals are, and then maybe you can use that connection or help that person further down the line. I think the most important thing about networking that a lot of people tend to forget is that it's a relationship first and foremost, almost like a friendship, but in a professional setting. So I think there's this misconception, especially among young people, that networking is kind of this like not shady. It's kind of something that business people do where everyone's just sort of using each other and there's this unspoken agreement that everyone's using each other. And that's not really the case, because I know that when I'm networking online, it's not just to see how I can gain, money or connections or jobs or whatever. It's mostly about seeing how I can hook up other people and how I can support and be encouraging of those people. Once again, this just goes back to that point of once you add people, make sure you're sharing content, creating your own content, even if it's just saying, hey LinkedIn, this is me, this is what I'm doing, help a girl out, then people are gonna share your post or at the very least give it some attention, and that will definitely help you take off. All right, thank you so much for watching, and if you are interested in receiving more tips related to the job search or just career advice in general, especially for college graduates, be sure to sign up for our email newsletter. The link is in the description box, and I wonder if YouTubers ever get tired of that. Like, the link is in the description box.
Below, not
In the description box.
It's not
Okay.
really a box.
It is a box.
It's the description below. Description box sounds like you're a boomer.
It sounds like I'm a boomer.
Hit the other way.
Also, I offer resume, cover letter, and personal statement editing services. I have 3 years of experience doing that for undergraduate and graduate students. So if that's something that you're interested in, you can also hit me up there. I hope this advice helped you out in some way, and I'll see you next time.